What's up, guys? This is Dave from The Disorderly. I'm joined by the filmmaker extraordinaire Andrew Volpe and the lovely Ash, who just accompanied me to go see Steven Spielberg's masterpiece, Ready Player One. And before we get into Ready Player One, just wanted to give a shout out to my dog, who's directly underneath us, making absolute nonsense noises out of his face, as French bulldogs will do. So if you hear anything snorfling and as he scrounges literally right under our mic, we're trying to, you can. It's like the ocean. He's a force of nature. You can build barriers, you can throw sandbags down, but it's going to do what it's going to do. So you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with our insane dog.
It's ambiance, man.
Yeah. So if you just hear something weird, like a pig, like it's not a barnyard animal, it's actually my dog. So, and really wanted to just give Mr. Andrew Volpe the stage here and tell me more about your big win. Was it last weekend? Which film festival have you won, sir?
The Perennial Film Festival in Florida.
I mean, not quite international, but continental.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take what I can get.
All right. Now, is there anywhere we can see this documentary?
Yeah, on Vimeo you can find it. It's called, it's got a really long name, but it's called Free Agent Fan Michael Volpe, A True Story.
Cool. And I think we've only seen the trailer, so I still yet to see the actual full-length film, but
yeah, it's a documentary about my dad. He had some crazy 15 minutes of fame experience as a sports baseball fanatic 20 years ago, and so it's kind of a documentation of that. But yeah, just give it a Google, Free Agent Fan plus Vimeo, and you should be able to pick it up.
Cool. And it is true. It's being. Someone owns the film rights to this, right? Someone's been trying to make it into a real film. I mean, it's an incredible story of a man who is pissed beyond belief at his local sports team and decides to spurn them and open his ass to the world, right? So he takes meetings, he travels, he gets wined and dined. Every sports team is trying to cater him. His fanhood is a valuable commodity, and one of the most insane, parent friends that I have in this good world. You know what I mean? I mean, he used to leave us insane notes and stuff. I mean, one of the most eccentric men I've ever met. You know what I mean? Your father is an incredible human being.
Yeah, he's got that crazy genius, I think.
Yeah, no, just one of those incredible, great people to be around when you're a teenager. You know what I mean? So.
Well, thanks.
But enough about your dad. Let's get into this. All right, so we literally just saw Ready Player One 90 minutes ago.
Yeah,
I'm trying to push it from the reaches of my memory.
That's a lot to process. I felt like I was kind of glad to have a night to marinate on it, because
right.
I just felt kind of sensory overload by the time it was done.
Because you're a true hero. I thought I would be on a week delay begging you to go see this movie so we could record this, but you saw it Wednesday night. It's 10:30 at night, and you're texting me, "Hey, I just saw this movie." I'm waking up at 4 a.m. the next day, and I couldn't be more proud that you actually went to go see this a Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was so weird because to be expected, there was me included. I think there was 4 people in the theater, but
that's a good sign.
You'll love this, of course. Normally I'm pretty open and friendly to people, but I just wasn't expecting having to talk to anyone on a Wednesday night at a movie theater where there's 4 people in it. But of course, there's one guy who's super weird mouth breather. I thought he was drunk, but I could tell he was just really socially awkward. But it was one of those deals where in the entire empty theater, he sits 1 seat away from me.
Oh, no.
And he's laughing at all of the dumbest. He's not laughing at the jokes. He just laughs at every mention of Star Wars or something like that. Things that aren't jokes. And so it didn't really sully my experience that much, but it definitely colored it a little bit.
So what did you guys get at Denny's afterwards?
Oh, I don't know. He was trying to start up conversation a lot, and I just tried to make a beeline for the bathroom. He was trying to talk to me before and after the movie, and I was trying to be polite, but I just really wasn't in the mood.
I would have paid good money to see you try to weasel out of just a perfect stranger asking you to do something for them. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is the most accommodating, friendly person I know. The things that you have done, my friend, and in just the things that I can recall off the top of my head that you've done for people, I mean, just to run some down. You painted a girl's house. You painted a girl's house in high school because she asked you to. You painted the outside of her house. You went and picked up a girl's dad at the airport because she didn't want to carry his bags, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then that's just the high school years. And then we'll go into college where, I mean, you drove a girl around as her basically driver for several years, right? Like, how many rides have you given out in how many miles do you have of just like Good Samaritan giving people rides? Like
that was a couple of cars ago, so
the cars have lived and died under your service. You know what I mean? So I mean, I can't imagine you like politely like, oh, cool. Well, you know what? I gotta like duck out and go get away from you right now. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's a problem. I definitely got to work on learning how to say no, but. Man, I wasn't expecting this for this podcast. I feel like it's turned into therapy hour.
You never know what to expect. You know what I mean? That's the.
We like to get deep here. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we're more than just a movie review podcast.
Yeah. Well, so the whole thing for these, we've got an ongoing series where Volpe and myself, and we're joined by Ash. In this case, we read books and then we poorly remember them, and then we talk about how they differed from the movie. So it's like drunk history, but we're all sober.
Yeah.
Like I don't know about you. You know what I mean? I don't know.
You're drunk on nerd rage now, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, I haven't. So. So yeah. But it's a lot like drunk history, or like Funny or Die tried to do like a stoned storytelling, something like a ripoff. It was terrible. But we're just regular people that forget a lot about movies, and then we have to go and read the Wikipedia page to remember what happened.
If it helps, I'm a little drunk right now. So
well, there you go. Yeah. So anything that we don't recall quickly,
yes,
just go ahead
on the booze.
All right. So I mean, let's get into it. I mean, Ash and I were kind of blown away by how much the movie, and full spoilers, people, like we're everything will say spoilers on it, full spoilers. I don't know if I could somehow spoil this movie for you. I mean, I don't even know. What do you think happens at a Steven? You know what I mean? A Spielberg movie.
I feel like even if I didn't know where it was going, it doesn't pull. Like I think the book was like fairly standard, but this is definitely way more, like a little bit more, like cookie cutter Spielberg-y.
Right. Well, like Blue's Clues has more of like intrigue than this. You know what I mean? So, and I'm a pretty big fan of the book. I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Ash, Ash loved it. So she finished it up couple days ago. She doesn't remember a lot of the details.
It's weird. It's like you read it so fast because it's so enjoyable, but I felt like I almost immediately forgot a lot of it.
Right.
I definitely had to look at the Wikipedia page to remember the book a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you read it, a couple years ago?
Yeah, but yeah, one of my friends at work was raving about it, and yeah, it's a pretty great book.
Read the book, people. Read the book.
Or at least listen to the audiobook.
Yeah,
do something.
It was good.
Do something. I mean, it's an interesting story. It's got a lot of backlash for just having pop culture things in it. I don't understand. I mean, people seem to be
I feel
upset or that it's lazy. I don't know.
Well, I feel like it's like it's a good idea because it's I think it genuinely comes from the heart. It really does love the 80s nostalgia, but it also so happens that 80s nostalgia is everywhere these days, and I think the backlash is more towards that, people being sick of that, and this is like kind of that the quintessence of that in one story or whatever.
It's kind of crazy because I watch a lot of interviews for the site and everything like that. Even Simon Pegg, he's running around going like, yeah, nostalgia's dangerous. Yeah, it's terrible. It's bad.
And
you're promoting a film about
yeah,
nostalgia and member berries, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? So, someone's like, what would, or I'm trying to remember, I think it was like Al Jazeera, like, did an interview with them. They were like, what would you tell, because, I mean, Simon Pegg, this is basically him. Wade Watts, right? That's basically Simon Pegg that was writing Spaced with, like, Edgar Wright.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and he kind of, like, totally brushed it off. Like, what would Mission Impossible 18 Simon Pegg tell Spaced Simon Pegg? And he's like, well, I think he would tell him to look forward and not worry about the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Enjoy making Star Trek 4.
I was going to say, that sounds like a canned answer you give after you've been, giving interviews for 7 hours or something.
Like, he did not seem thrilled. Yeah, he didn't seem too jazzed about this last press tour, blaming marketing for Star Trek sucking, and he was hit or miss on this press tour. Spielberg, I thought, was pretty good, and I'm proud stars running around.
I'm proud to say I saw the trailer for this a few months ago, but aside from that, aside from knowing that Ty Sheridan was the lead, I think I knew Mark Rylance was in it. I knew nothing about the movie going into it, which kind of helped, I guess. Like, at least not get up my expectations or anything.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with how they decided to go with Rylance, where he's kind of almost like Asperger's-y autistic, almost like a touches of that by the way they have him dressed and his cadence of speaking and things like that. It didn't scream like pop culture nerd to me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a little weird because it's like I feel like I don't know. I think because this is the 4th or 5th pairing of Mark Rylance with Spielberg. I think he's like kind of becoming his like DiCaprio or something. So
that's quite the upgrade, you know what I mean?
Well, apparently I did not know of Mark Rylance before, I think, Bridge of Spies, but he's apparently one of the world's best Shakespearean actors or something, and that's how Spielberg discovered him, and he hadn't done that much film work before then, but yeah, so like I was wondering if it was kind of like, well, I got to stick him in everything, so just makes sense to put him here, and he does a good job. I feel like that could be said about like a good portion of the film. It's like it's well done, but I don't know. I just wasn't over the moon about it.
No, yeah, we grabbed like a quick bite and we're trying to like save some of this for the podcast, but Ash is just rage screaming, going insane. Ash is, for those of you who don't know, most of you probably won't, but Ash is the most hater. Doesn't really do it. If you divert from the source material, Ash will abandon you and leave you for dead.
I.e. The Walking Dead.
The Walking Dead is probably her kind of go-to all-time. I mean, we have like, I don't know, 28 volumes of The Walking Dead or something. Ash gave up on The Walking Dead, I think.
Episode 2.
Episode 2?
Yeah.
She didn't even make it. Right, so I mean, Shane lived too long. This.
Yeah.
Just we ran into, true story. We ran into Robert Kirkman of Walking Dead fame at Harry Potter World at Universal Studios.
That's pretty random.
I go, hey, Robert Kirkman. I like pat him on the shoulder, and he goes, hey, how are you? That's the end of the interaction. He's like with his kid in Harry Potter World. I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this, dude. I can't believe you're just walking around in the absolute just nerd, you know what I mean? Just apocalypse. There's a Walking Dead thing at Universal. You're running around. You're like 6'3", like you're towering over all these Japanese tourists, and you're just running around. You know what I mean? He's like on TV. I couldn't believe it. Maybe a hat and some sunglasses, nothing. And I turned to Ash. Ash is like, who the hell was that? Or whatever. I was like, oh, that's the guy who created The Walking Dead. And she goes, I would have fucking punched him in the face or something. I mean, she threatened his life. She threatened to assault him, or at least insult him to his face. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Ask him his decisions and why in the world did he not just stick to his source material. I mean, I don't even know now what in the world the story is about. I had a coworker asking me, like, oh, do you watch this? Because you like comic books. I'm like, no, it's shit. Like, read the books or don't. I don't even know. I mean, when's the last time whenever Dave watched it last, I would watch it once in a while if it was on.
I think I fell off when Negan was just kind of getting started. Because I was curious. I was hate watching it up to Negan, and then I kind of fell off. But just to give you guys some context of where Ash stands on Ready Player One, you know what I mean? So you've got someone who Shane lived too long. A character lived too long, and she hates it. So
he died in the second issue.
Right. So what do you think is going to happen? You know, when Spielberg gets his hands on her beloved Ready Player One. You know,
I'm a super big Harry Potter fan. Favorite books. And I would say I almost enjoyed this book more than Harry Potter.
She's got a wand up here. She's got a whole wand set up. I mean, and she's, pretty legit.
So I was really holding out hope that I could like this because I've been looking forward to this for a while. But, just giant letdown. I'm sitting there, I don't know, 10 minutes in, shaking my head like, what the fuck, really? This is the direction?
Ash's body language in this movie was... Because we're sitting in we went to AMC Prime, so they're in these rumble seats or whatever, and she's just pissed, man. She's seething, she's harumphing, she's she'll literally turn to me and just shake my damn head. You know what I mean? She can't believe it. She's pissed. So I mean, some of the basic things. I mean, hopefully you guys have seen both, and we're just kind of openly talking about stuff. But I mean, we were joking. It's you could almost do a podcast talking about what they kept the same in the book. It would
be shorter,
right?
Than what they missed.
Yeah, I mean, the whole dynamic of the hunt and the scenes and they pretty much changed, because I think in the book, and we were talking about it, was each key was a challenge to find the key, and then another challenge to pass through a gate. And then the eventual challenge for the Easter egg, right? So I guess a total of 7 challenges, something like that, right? Okay, so they were nah, let's do just 3. Yeah. Let's just get the shit out of the way, you know what I mean? So, and then the race, man, the race, and I heard I think I heard the eventual the novel writer, and then he got a screen credit. Ernest Cline so he and Zach wrote it, right? Zach Penn. You know what he wrote that's criminally underrated is PCU. He has weird credits where he wrote Men in Black. He wrote Ants. Charlie's Angels. He got a revision credit. Suspect Zero, one of my low down favorite kind of weird. God damn, I got really into, what was it called? It's I'm trying to imagine, but the CIA, it was the Men Who Stare at Goats type shit, Remote viewing, that's what, yeah. So it's this theory that, if Google it and go down this weird wormhole with me, guys, but basically what you're doing is you're concentrating on where's this Russian sub right now? And then you're drawing concentric circles, and then you go into a fever state, and then boom, you have some sort of map where this Russian nuclear sub is off the coast of Alaska or Florida or something. You know what I mean? Or and they're trying to use it for finding dead girls locked in basements and serial killers and stuff. It's really, really insane. So go check that one out. But PCU is one of the all-time classics that no one talks about. It's never on TV. So he was on Last Action Hero is his first credit that he helped write the story of back in 93, and then his co-wrote PCU with Adam Leff. Looked it up. But yeah, Ernest Cline, man, I think in an interview he was talking about how they've changed certain challenges and things to make them more thematic, which is like the ultimate buzzword of 2017, 2018. Like, oh, we just needed to make something more thematic. That's, you know what I mean? The industry term for...
I was more pissed at the stuff they did decide to leave in. At some point, I was just like, just be different.
Speaking of deaths in the book that don't happen in the real goddamn movie. You know, it's a weird thing to wish death on like a young Japanese man, but yeah, so that's another kind of major change that they were like, yeah, let's just... So I went to the bathroom at one point, and then when I got back, they all knew each other in the real world. So I was trying to put two and two together, how the hell they just...
So Daito, which is in the book, a adult who gets thrown off of his balcony and killed by IOI, is a 11-year-old boy in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Or no, that's Sho.
Yeah, that's Sho. You're confusing me.
crap.
Daito is the other, like... Yeah. But in the book, they're both kind of sad Japanese men who, like, live in seclusion.
They're also brothers in the book.
They're not.
Did not.
They
said that.
They
though.
but they act like brothers or call themselves brothers,
Yeah.
right? But they're not actually related. Something like that.
Yeah.
I loved how in the book they kind of have a tentative, you know, there's a competitiveness, but a camaraderie that they're, you know, it's like guys who win the Heisman Trophy probably or something, you know what I mean? Where they're all like, they all stack up, but they're in this weird little fraternity. And they're like, yeah, and these are these two other guys we know called Shoto and Daito. They're our friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they know them right away. No, that's not how that worked.
Yeah, so I that was a little brutal. I also, let's talk about T.J. Miller being IROC. They that was a weird one because they took a pretty minor character in the book and then expanded him into like the shittiest version of Boba Fett that you're ever gonna find, probably. I was a little surprised that they didn't kind of like redub, you know, with just because, not that I, you know, whatever. I'm not calling for T.J. Miller to, you know, I'm not offended or whatever, but I'm surprised that they didn't kind of like reshuffle that. But T.J. Miller, my God, dude, a year ago he was talking about how, you know, oh, I'm working on this big movie with Spielberg. It's great. He loves everything I'm doing in my career. I'm too busy for Silicon Valley, you know, blah, 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 talks about it. And then he's like this shit voiceover role in this movie. You know what I mean? You know, let's see what else we got. You know, didn't mind kind of how they did H, you know what I mean?
Yeah, she was probably my favorite character. Like, fitting with the book, at least.
All right, so where were we? We took a temporary break for technical difficulties, and Volpe had to cannibalize a TV remote for the good of the podcast.
Whatever does the trick.
So what were we talking? Okay, so another thing that we've kind of talked about a little bit was the kind of the lack of the movie references almost. It seems like they just didn't want to, other than the Shining scene, which I thought was actually really cool.
Yeah, that was probably the best. Yeah,
right.
that I feel like that was
just...
that felt like the most inspired scene in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I assume that a lot of the creative decisions for this were dictated by the intellectual properties, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
right.
Because it felt like a lot of the stuff that they had was WB stuff. Like they had a lot of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I was Back to the Future WB. I feel like that.
I thought it was Universal.
Yeah, you might be right. Actually,
Zemeckis, right?
Yeah.
Ash is Googling, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I missed kind of the kind of acting. I again, you know, understandable, but kind of I loved the independent struggle of some of the challenges where you just see kind of Wade trying to figure things out and failing and going through them, and it takes a little the starch out of it for me to see like a team of superheroes basically trying to solve puzzles together.
Yeah, because it wasn't done individually.
Right. Yeah, the whole spirit of the thing is how independent everyone is, right? And that, you know, we're all friends, but we're competing, and we're all in it for ourselves, and that's the spirit of the group, and they just kind of abolished that feel super early on.
They were saying they don't clan up. Well, you did.
You did.
So.
You
like
done
right
sold out.
away.
Yep. So enjoyed it. I missed. Okay, so what? We missed War Games. Mm-hmm. We missed the Monty Python.
Flick Sync.
Right. So we missed the Voight-Kampff machine. Right.
Right.
Where he goes through from Blade Runner. So I just and I guess they I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't have played that well. But.
I'm telling you, man, it's got to be, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of it was just budget. Like they were probably like, okay, it'll cost us $10,000 to show Marvin the Martian for a fifth of a second. So,
Spielberg said he got everyone. Everyone,
of course they're going to say
everyone
that.
was super accommodating. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
except goddamn Ultraman, who he said was in the middle of a lawsuit right now. So
yeah.
He's like, God damn it, Ultraman.
Where was my Voltron?
Yeah, no Voltron. You couldn't get DreamWorks or whoever the hell's running it right now, and Netflix always wanted to see Gundam fight Mechagodzilla, though. You know what I mean? So I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Iron Giant, kind of.
It's not in the book.
Well, all right.
Yeah, I thought
another outburst from Ash, about the book continuity and things like that. So, I missed the giant robot showdown that is very plays a major role in the book. Was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, it felt like it was, kind of truncated. Like everything else, it felt a little rushed, and I liked that whole finishing scene and just a lot of the battle scenes in this movie. Like, I thought they were technically well done, and that is kind of the aesthetic. Like, when I don't play that many like online video games, but I know, there's characters all over the place, but when you're looking at it on screen, it's like overwhelming. There's almost too much going on.
I wanted to throw up a little bit.
Yeah.
and it did it a disservice because you're trying to like squint your eyes like, I think that's a Battletoad. I think that's a troll. I think is that Beastman? Is that a centaur? Is that from Jason and the Argonauts? Is that what that is? You know what I mean? You're trying to make it through, but it's I saw some Pokemon. I saw some just weird stuff. It's like, just take a beat. Just like you paid for all these damn rights usage things, so like just and references, so just like let them breathe a little bit. It's like, why did I need 10 seconds of Chucky like slashing people up and stuff? You know what I mean? Like, that's, what I mean. I enjoyed more of the obscure ones, but I think my heart was broken when the final climax, where I did not get to see goddamn Johnny Five lift a explosive device over his head and self-detonate.
Yeah.
Broke my goddamn heart.
Yeah, oh, wait, what happened I honestly can't even remember that part. Sorry.
How do you not remember? All right, well, this was another thing. Okay, so in the book, Wade basically manipulates the system, right, so that he gets brought in, he's the man inside, and they
gets into IOI intentionally,
right, so he arranges to sort of be arrested and thrown into the internment camp and be an indentured servant, and uses that to kind of hack into the system and collects all the evidence of all the wrongdoing, and then basically plants a Trojan horse sort of virus into their system, which from inside the base with the giant shield, and basically at a predetermined time programs Johnny Five to go grab a goddamn bomb and then detonate, which lowers the shield, right, and the battle commences from there. But just the way that whole scene is, I wanted it in voiceover form on screen. I wanted him to just calmly take 2 minutes or whatever it is and explain every step of that whole scene. It was probably my favorite scene in the book of, it's what's happening, but it's beautiful. Johnny Five detonating, a massive explosive device. It was just
It's also not a magical thing in the book. They just
Right.
have the shields. It's just
Right.
something they have.
Well, it was an artifact or something, right?
Yeah,
No.
but was
Not in the
that
book.
No?
was that from another like franchise or something? I couldn't tell
The
if that.
shields.
Are you talking about Johnny Five?
No, I thought you were talking about the magical stuff in the movie.
I can't remember.
But like in the book, the shields were just the shields. They just put up these giant shields. They didn't like, oh, you have
Are
to
you
whisper.
sure?
I'm pretty sure because
All
they
right.
did it on the second gate.
Right, but isn't it something that
third
they
gate.
they bought out at auction or something?
I thought that was just
That was the
catalyst.
cataclysm, but I thought the shield was another thing. I could be wrong, but
It wasn't big enough in the book to go, oh, this man has to have this much power and then mumble these words
that
and
was
then it works.
that was the absolute
that's
worst.
Not part of it.
I hated kind of how they did Sorrento in the
Yeah.
film, where Ben Mendelsohn is wasted.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
feel
mean?
like he's always the sniveling dude in every movie ever, and it wasn't doing it for me in this one.
Right, because in the book you kind of go, okay, well he's a sellout, but at least he knows his shit. You know what I mean? He's this is just a bumbling rube.
Yeah, like
who
I felt
doesn't
like
know anything.
this was it kind of almost played into what you were talking about with it, like not being able to decide if it's a kids movie or an adult film, because he felt almost a little bit like a kids movie villain, I
Yeah.
guess.
Right, he's the man. You know what I mean? He's just like
Yeah.
But
the
he
man.
wasn't convincing enough. I envisioned Sorrento to be this all-power being, but he was like, oh, just the shitty intern that was resentful that he never got to be a bigger part of this company.
And pick an accent and stick with
Yeah.
it for
Or a
goddamn
lisp.
sake. You know, yeah. Stick with your weird southern drawl, or stick to your damn lisp, or stick to just Upper West Side. Like, pick one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just going back and forth and
Like, I wonder if for the actors it's kind of jarring because, most of the movie, half the movie, he's that, like, Gears of War looking avatar, and then the rest of it, he's just kind of usually in an office, and I feel like, the office setting wasn't really ominous, so, like, so many scenes take place in his office, and it's just kind of like this bland, antiseptic looking, silvery space, like futuristic
Yeah.
looking, but like there wasn't that much going on, so I feel like that kind of took away from any intimidation his character would bring,
Well, like, when he's invited, when Parzival is invited to IOI in the book, he gets this grand tour of what IOI is. From the movie, IOI is the shit room in some kind of multi-structured apartment type thing where it's supposed to be this grand
Amazon headquarters.
yeah,
Or something,
it was supposed to have this big outdoor or
Campus.
faux outdoor campus and all this really cool stuff. Like, his office was cool and then everything else was shit. And then all the people who I guess were his army that just kept regenerating, like, that was kind of lame. And then he was supposed to be actually able to do stuff, and then
Right, because
He just didn't.
he has to physically do the games and things, right? So,
right, because he was one of the score
right,
leaders.
exactly. So it just doesn't. They kind of totally bungled
Yeah,
how that whole
'cause
thing would work.
the whole getting the crystal key, he got it.
Mm-hmm.
They completely just skipped that he was on the scoreboard and competing against these people.
Yeah, I feel like they just streamlined so much of that, and you didn't really get it felt like a lot of his scenes were just very one note, like regular corporate sniveling guy, and it's, I guess, some of the scenes, the cutaways to the research assistants, like debating that some of
Right.
that
Yeah.
some of that was kind of fun, but like that got kind of old after a while because I felt like they were really milking it because I thought it was hilarious, and that kind of got old for me after a little while.
It was a weird thing because these people are cheering like the end of their company, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so, am I supposed to understand that? And despite all of that, they're still super jazzed to see someone win the Easter egg.
I
Like,
guess so.
It
I
was
mean,
a little bit weird.
yeah, I didn't get a lot of the the logistics of the real world, because I remember in the book it's like he starts out with just your regular crappy basic setup. He doesn't have like a platform that he can run on, so even though
he's like laying down most of the time, and then they've got him in a goddamn like a gyrosphere running around on pulleys and some sort of pulley system.
Well, like I and you know, they kept on having those cutaways to the people in the apartments, and like the mom that wasn't paying attention to her kid.
Right.
But
how many people would be hit by cars?
I know,
just
like I was just
around,
what, like, can you make it so that, like, why would you have to make yourself use your legs? Like, or you saw people walking around on the street with the goggles on, so I was just trying to figure out, like, it'd be nice if they just did something to kind of explain how that works. Or because are you conscious of what's going on in the real world as well when you have the goggles on? Or
yeah, because you could like see through, or it made it look like you could see through it.
Well, there's no real rules, right? So they're breaking in. So like, okay, so you're hearing me inside the Oasis, but I can hear what's going on in the room.
Yeah.
Someone, because Olivia Cook is looking, and he goes, "What are you looking at? There's nothing over there. You're in trouble, aren't you?" Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Yeah, because I can see out of the corner of my eye." So like, you're constantly, you imagine like what your body would do. Can you imagine the inner ear just like throwing up as you're like one reality, two reality, as you're just moving your eye up and down? Like you would. I'm no doctor, people, but I assume the human mind can only handle so much.
Yeah, I just wish. I remember thinking, I wish that because I know they had the point of view shot when he's putting on the goggles at the very start of the movie, so you can introduce what the world of Oasis is like. But I wish they had a reverse of that at some point, so you could see, and it would drive home the theme of like getting away from fantasy and confronting reality. But like, if you just you're immersed in the CG world, and then you see what it looks like when you take the goggles off, or just do a little bit of something to kind of see how it works. It feels like you just get that real quick montage at the beginning to establish that everyone uses it, but they don't really go into the details of how it works.
Well, it drove me crazy when Parzival is meeting with Sorrento. And in the book, he's very like, don't log out. And logging out is taking off your visor. But clearly, in the movie, he takes off his visor several times to avoid his facial
emotional
expression.
Stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, pick one or the other. If it's off your face, therefore, are you logging out? Because they showed it both ways.
Yeah. I mean, it's
nitpicky, but it's just infuriating to watch. You're like,
well, the one thing is, it almost sounds like it comes off as, we didn't need to really put thought into that. And I know it's supposed to be a Spielberg movie, and it's supposed to be kind of fun, and it's kind of a satire, and it doesn't matter.
There are rules, Spielberg.
Yeah.
There are goddamn rules.
The fucking Matrix, the rules of it, they're pretty well defined, and this is essentially that. So, you don't have to do that much. I wish they took a little bit more time in the beginning just establishing all that and kind of giving it room to breathe, because everything could build off of that, but instead it's just exposition dump at the beginning and more shit, like MacGuffins all up in this bitch, like, for sure.
It's just MacGuffin heaven in there. Yeah. Just MacGuffin after MacGuffin.
Yeah. And, why did they have to make Artemis the leader of a resistance? I kind of had to roll my eyes at that, because it's like, every movie's got to have a fucking resistance in it, or the person has to be the leader of a resistance.
I agree.
That was a nightmare.
And I hated that they met in person so early. I mean, that ruined it. I mean, halfway through.
Right. So much of the tension of the book is that they're building up to a real life meeting at the end, and that's the huge payoff.
Well,
and then they just kind of like, oh yeah, like second act, like we're just do it.
I feel like they were like, okay, we want to have the actual actors in this movie for more than like 5 minutes. So
sure.
I feel like that was the motivation for it, but it did take away from it, and it made the world feel smaller, because I was like, does everyone just live in Cleveland or wherever the hell it's set?
I was in the bathroom for that part, but how did they
Ohio.
explain how the hell they all happened to be where Wade is?
They didn't.
Okay.
They
just all happened. So
he sends a message out or something, right?
No, but that was to show up on Planet Doom for the battle. It's not
No,
like
they
come to
just-
Cleveland.
So Artemis, had some dude kidnap Wade.
Right. Okay, I
After
remember
the
that. I was
explosion.
there.
And then she's like, "Oh, welcome to the Resistance." And then I don't remember how H and Shoto and Daito all kind of, magically appeared. They all lived in the same place. They literally said, Artemis, like, "Oh, who knew we live so close?" That's not true.
But you're Japanese, right? So like, don't you necessarily not live
right.
close?
Aren't they in Japan? In the book, they're in Japan. In the book, she's in Vancouver. And the book, he's in Oklahoma City.
Right.
So like, what?
And
They all
H was
just-
in Detroit or Chicago.
she was moving around.
Right.
A lot. Like the van, that she just kept going different places.
Well, that doesn't make sense thematically.
I mean, just regardless, it happens incredibly fast. They all get
I mean,
there in like
I
8
ran
days.
for a quick one, and they were all together.
Well,
you know
it's
what I mean?
like I think he sends out the message, gets kidnapped, and he's like with the Resistance for it seems like a very short amount of time. I suppose there could have been a big time jump, but it seemed like he was there for like an hour, and then
Yeah.
shit went south. You know?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a pretty shitty resistance if they just come and like squash you like a den of rats. Or something,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And
they're like,
also, don't have a really distinctive face tattoo if you're trying to be incognito.
that was the greatest when it's the drone scene. Like, oh, we got these death drones just floating around casually, as they do. And then it locks on. It goes into the horrible, shitty, like drone perspective, and it's like, mer, mer, and it's running around, and then it locks into its Mike Tyson tattoo on his face, and you're like, oh, it matches the shitty tattoo, like perfect. That's our man.
Yeah. And you saw them doing that with the vans too. It's like,
Oh,
they found the wrong van. See, we spelled it out for you.
That was the I wanted to escape the theater when they are, like the shtick of I'm in a moving van, so my avatar is like struggling to move and put a key in a damn keyhole. And they're like, come on, you can do it. Put that key in. And it's like 3 minutes long of just like goofiness of trying to suspend him with the pulleys and
Yeah, that was
a
way
car chase through
excessive.
Birmingham,
And that
Yeah.
woman falling out of the back of the open car would have
Yeah.
never lived.
Oh.
I was like, she's
she
dead.
did live. Oh,
Yeah, she was
right.
in the police car.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
So, is it just in any future movie, if a girl has bangs, that's shorthand for she's the evil, like, bitch, I guess? Because
Yeah, she did look like that.
So let's see. We'll run it down. We've got Love from Blade Runner 2049.
yeah.
We've got, and sort of if she's a hench woman with bangs, that's a death sentence.
Oh, Kingsman too. Yeah, like I feel like
Ooh,
it's
good
like
call.
it's always the sexy.
What is her name? She's from The Mummy.
Yeah, I can't.
And she was in Atomic Blonde. I can't remember her name, but she's French.
Not even a chance.
Google hot French chick from Atomic Blonde and The Mummy and The Kingsman. Yeah, she's the chick with the knife legs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Bangs mean death.
yeah. But I was just wondering, like, since the movies were in such close proximity, like it felt like almost like a direct callback to it. But also all of her scenes with Ben Mendelsohn, like all of them felt so perfunctory. Like I like every time they were like, ooh, we've got to kill Wade Wilson, Wade, what's his face, and like you do it, no, you do it. Like it just I already knew where it was going, and I felt like it just drag every time they had one of those scenes. It just dragged the movie down for me.
Absolutely brutal. I don't know. I'm skewed because obviously we love the book and it just felt brutal. I mean, I don't know. I think your average moviegoer, you may kind of dig it.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you think? Would you recommend it to people who haven't read the book or?
I probably would. Like, I was going to say, like, despite the fact that we've been shitting on this movie for this whole podcast, like, was there any positives? Because I didn't totally hate the movie yet. Like, I definitely had problems, but, like, there were parts I enjoyed. I can't really... There were so many, like, things going on. It's kind of hard
You know what
to
I really liked?
What?
It comes to mind. You know when they did that dance scene where it's like... Staying Alive, and they were doing that dance scene where they're like dancing over that chasm and there's like tiles that are lighting up and they're dancing and they're doing that like the lawnmower pull. Like Really dug that part.
Yeah,
Ash,
it's amazing.
I mean, some of the shit in this film, you're just like, dude, what am I doing? This movie, like,
Yeah.
you guys got to move it along. You know what I mean? This is brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I'm not the one. Don't come to me for the positives. But yeah, man, I'm scratching my head trying to think of some things, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember the good in things. I cling to misery.
I really wish I could go back and watch it and just, like, I wish it was called something different. I wish it was like, hey, this is loosely maybe based on this movie, or hey, this is a current version of this book. Then maybe I wouldn't have hated it so much. But, like, it's just so different than the book that I can't even like it.
Well,
it's a weird thing. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say. Well, I was thinking too. Like, yeah, maybe in 6 months when it comes out on video, and you know that usually happens where the second time around your expectations are lowered, so it's like you can kind of take the movie on its own terms. Usually, that's when I'm like, I find a few silver linings. You just got to lower the bar a lot.
Well, that's why we're really excited to go see Pacific Rim 2 when we get a chance.
Oh God!
Because
no expectations.
No expectations.
I was gonna say, talk about lowering the bar.
Just turn your brain off.
We saw Jumanji, and it was really enjoyable because I expected it to suck, and it was actually better than that.
You got to go in with zero expectations, alcoholic milkshakes, and you're probably going to have a decent time. It's when you spend months building up to these damn blockbusters. You got Spielberg out here who he needs a hit like a crackhead, after his last couple of one. Oh, The Post didn't make a ton of, you know what I mean? Like,
it got a lot of Oscar love, and the movie cost like $5. That's what he does. He always makes like some really big, expensive movie at the same time while making some low budget art house thing. He's insane.
The Post cost $5?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were rushing to get it out and everything. Like it has for a big tentpole movie, it's not costing $150 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I have no idea. I'm talking out of my ass, but I thought it was like $60 million or something. Streep ain't cheap. Tom Hanks ain't cheap.
That's $60 million is fucking cheap for a Spielberg flick, man.
That's true. Well,
Spielberg,
it's a period piece. You know what I mean? But it's not that period. It's not that far.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? Yeah.
It's not
near past.
Yeah, you're not doing like Lincoln. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
you're not doing Jurassic Park. So he can do those in his sleep, which is why I feel like he tends to do that. Where he did Schindler's List while working on Jurassic Park.
That is insane.
Yeah.
I thought about that the other day, where I was like, you know what? Are they both 93?
Yeah.
Did he do them in the same damn calendar year? And people are like, that's incredible.
Well, yeah.
And I'm like, what kind of a mindset are you in? You know what I mean? Because he was like, I can't remember which one he did the other one first, but I think he was making Schindler's List while he's like approving like dinosaur modeling and stuff like that or something insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's like such a huge constant changing of gears. But, it makes sense because the post-production on Jurassic Park, and I'm sure the post-production on this takes forever. So it literally takes so long that he seems like a guy that likes to stay busy. So I assume he's like, well, fuck it. I'll do this other thing I want to do and multitask, I guess.
All right. Well, there we have it. We've aired a lot of grievances. We've done our best to remember things that we didn't like about this movie, and then how the book did it better.
It's what we do.
Pretty fresh. And we'll get together, and I've got my eye on the prize for Jason Statham's next big hit, Megalodon, Meg for short. So it's been in production hell for like 20 years or something, right?
Yeah, but I remember listening to that book on audio tape when I was like 10. So
right, it's been around.
Yeah.
So just to give you guys like a little tease, it's about Jason Statham. He plays a scientist. So strap in for that one. He goes let's see. Okay, I'm trying to remember the synopsis that I read, but basically he's a scientist who encounters a megalodon, prehistoric shark beast. It kills his crew, or he's the lone survivor. And when he goes up with his fishtail about how crazy it is, no one believes him. It's just he's disgraced in the scientific community. So Jason Statham gets together with a rogue female sub commander or something, and they go down in a Titanic-esque James Cameron mobile and try to go find this giant sea monster dinosaur. And that's a book. It's a book. It's being made into a film. We're gonna read the book. We're gonna watch the film, and we'll probably slide a couple other crappy books and movies in there too.
Yeah. Do you know when that comes out, Meg?
I think the summer.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I haven't seen anything, which is not a good sign.
Yeah, I haven't seen a poster for it or nothing. I just keep seeing reviews.
That's a good sign.
So do you think Jason Statham went to the same grad school as Denise Richards' character from The World Is Not Enough? You know, because she's a scientist too. They're both clearly scientists.
Who was a scientist in Deep Blue Sea that was like a joke?
Samuel.
Not LL.
Oh,
was it Samuel?
No, he wasn't a scientist. He was a rich
wasn't
guy.
LL Cool J.
Oh man,
He was like the.
Been so long since. Hold on, let me. Deep Blue Sea. It's been so long since I've seen. Saffron Burrows, the model chick, right?
Right.
The one that has to stand on her wetsuit, so they had an excuse to get her in a bikini, or her underwear or whatever.
Well, I mean, you know, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. You know, she disappeared.
Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard since that movie came out. So.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts? On seeing this movie?
Not really. I'd still give it a light recommendation. You know, it seems like everyone's read the book, so I feel like you're either going to be on board or, you know, wait till it comes out on HBO and be confused.
Yeah, if you haven't read the book, read the book. It's a fun book. You know, it makes a lot of you know, it's just a fun read. It kind of you know, we're all in our very early 30s, so we might be. I don't know. I feel like we're almost kind of in that perfect age of enjoying a lot of those references and things like that. And you know, I hope homeboy Ernest Cline can do something else, because I didn't realize he wrote Fanboys until I was like digging around a little bit.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, he's got a great story apparently where like Harvey Weinstein was the producer of Fanboys and was like demanding that they add more Kristen.
Kristen Stewart?
No, not Kristen Stewart. Who's the? She's in Bad Moms and she's in. You love her.
Oh, the brunette.
What's her name?
Oh, Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell. Yeah.
Your homegirl. Yeah. So they were like, why can't Kristen Bell be more naked in this? You know, Harvey Weinstein was like, listen, if you put another strip scene in here or you get her to be more nude, I'll give you 2 extra days to shoot. Like, he was literally like doing stuff like that, you know, and Ernest Cline and the director kind of talking about it. But that's another kind of classic movie, but it's very much in that wheelhouse of like nostalgia and Star Wars. And if you haven't seen it, I think it's 2009. It's got like Jay Baruchel and the fat guy from Fantastic Beasts is the star, and they're basically, it's like a period piece where they're trying to get their dying friend to Lucasfilm Ranch, Skywalker Ranch, to see episode 1 before he dies. So it's like takes place like 98, 99, and it's great. It's full of kind of Star Wars versus Star Trek references, so go check that one out. But that one's I'd rec that one over Ready Player One probably. But
I'd recommend War Games over Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ash says just go watch the movies that are mentioned in Ready Player One.
In the book.
In the book. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Yeah, in dealing with my dog snoring, I hope you can hear him. Let me get a good snore for you. There we go. As our baseline. And appreciate it as always. We crappily remember books, and then we try to explain how they were better than the movie. So we'll keep it up, and so please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.